You think they owe you something, don't you? You think if you just suffer enough, if you just hold on a little longer, the universe is going to balance the scales, hand you what you deserve on a silver platter. That's cute, that's real sweet. But tell me, how many nights have you spent waiting for fairness to show up at your doorstep? How many times have you whispered to yourself, just a little longer, just a little more pain, and then it will all make sense, and yet here you are, still drowning, still hoping, still breaking yourself apart in the name of a justice that doesn't exist. Let me let you in on a little secret. No one is coming to save you. No grand hand of fate is going to reach down and pluck you from your misery, lift you out of the dirt, and dust you off like some lost little lamb. Number, that's not how this works. If you want out, if you want more, you are going to have to claw your way out. Tear yourself free from the wreckage. Step over every lie you've been fed, every false promise that kept you waiting instead of taking. Because that's the game, kid. That's the truth they don't want you to figure out. The ones who have, they took. They didn't wait. They didn't kneel in the dark praying for mercy. They didn't hope someone would see their pain and say, oh, poor thing, let's give them a break. Number, they sharpened themselves into weapons, turned their suffering into something deadly, something that cut through the noise, something no one could ignore, and you sit there thinking if you just endure a little longer, things will change. Why? Because someone told you that good things come to those who wait. Let me ask you this. Who exactly told you that? Was it the ones who waited? Or was it the ones who already had everything handed to them? The ones born with the world in their hands, whispering fairy tales to keep you in line while they take everything that isn't nailed down? Because that's what they do. They keep you docile. They keep you weak. They keep you believing in things like patience and fate. Carve up the world and feast on what you were too afraid to reach for. But let me ask you something. How much longer are you going to wait? How many more days, months, years are you willing to spend with your hands open, palms up, begging for a little piece of something that was never meant to be given? Do you think they'll respect you for your suffering? Do you think they'll see the weight you carry and say, oh, how noble, let's reward them? Number, they'll laugh, they'll mock, they'll use you up and spit you out. And when you've got nothing left, they won't even remember your name. And that is when it hits, isn't it? That is when you realize you wasted it. All that pain, all that endurance, and for what? A thank you? A pat on the head? Tell me, does that sound like respect to you? Does that sound like something worth bleeding for? You want them to notice you? To fear you? Then stop waiting. Stop hoping. Start taking. They don't respect kindness. They respect power. They respect consequence. They respect the one who walks into the room and makes them stop, makes them shut up, makes them reconsider every word before they say it. They don't hand out respect like candy. No, you rip it out of their hands, you make them choke on it. You become the one they don't dare to cross because they know that if they do, there is a price to pay. You want to be free? Then break the chains yourself. You want to be strong? Then stop waiting for someone to tell you that you are. Because the truth is, no one is coming. No one is giving you permission. You either take it or you stay right where you are, drowning, choking, breaking. While the ones who took, who burned, who never asked for permission, sit on the throne that should have been yours. So tell me, kid, what's it going to be? Do you feel it yet? That fire in your chest, that itch beneath your skin, that's the truth clawing its way out. That's the beast you've been keeping, locked up, waiting, starving. It's been whispering to you for years, hasn't it? Telling you to wake up, to stop bowing, to stop begging. But you ignored it. You shoved it down, because that's what they taught you to do. They taught you that anger is dangerous, that hunger is wrong, that wanting more makes you selfish. But let me tell you something, lied. They always lied. That anger, that hunger, that's not weakness, that's power. That's your body telling you that you were never meant to be small, never meant to sit at the bottom of the food chain while the vultures pick apart your bones. You were meant to rise, you were meant to take, but they don't want you to know that. Because the moment you do, the moment you let that fire take hold, you become something they can't control. And that scares them, doesn't it? The thought of you waking up, standing up, tearing through the script they wrote for you. That's why they keep whispering in your ear, keep telling you to calm down, to be patient, to be good. Because a quiet, obedient thing is easier to handle. A tame thing never bites back. But you were never meant to be tame. So let me ask you again, how much longer are you going to wait? How many more times are you going to swallow your own rage, choke on your own pain before you finally let it out? How many more times will you let them walk past you like you don't exist? Because that's what they do. They don't see you. Not really. Not unless you make them. And that's the trick, isn't it? You don't ask to be seen. You don't wait for them to acknowledge you. You make them look. You make them listen. You step into the light and you make damn sure they don't forget your name. But that takes something, doesn't it? It takes a kind of strength they never taught you. Not the fake strength, not the smile and endure strength, but the real kind. The kind that doesn't bow, doesn't flinch, doesn't back down. The kind that looks them in the eye and says, "Try me. You think you don't have that in you?" That's another lie they fed you. They made you believe you were weak, made you believe you needed them. But here's the truth. They needed you. They needed you to stay small so they could feel big. They needed you to stay quiet so they could be loud. They needed you to doubt yourself so they could hold all the power. And now you see it, don't you? Now you feel it, deep in your bones. The thing they never wanted you to know. That you were never weak. That you were never helpless. That you were never meant to be anything less than unstoppable. So tell me, are you ready to take what's yours? It's funny, isn't it? How long they've kept you in place. How easily they convinced you that your turn would come if you just stayed patient. And you believed them. You swallowed every pretty lie, every excuse, every false promise that someday, somehow, things would shift in your favor. But tell me, how many times have you watched that promise break right in front of your eyes? How many times have you been shoved aside, overlooked, forgotten, while they smiled and told you to wait just a little longer? And now, after all this time, you finally see it. There was never a turn for you. There was never a path paved with fairness, never a moment when they planned to hand you what you deserved. No, the game was always rigged. The deck was always stacked. They didn't forget you. They never planned to include you in the first place. So what now? Do you keep playing by their rules? Keep letting them move you around like a piece on their board? Do you let them keep you small, keep you silent, keep you hoping for scraps while they feast? Or do you take the whole damn table and flip it over? 'Cause that's what it takes. That's what they don't want you to understand. You don't climb your way up by waiting for permission. You don't earn respect by being agreeable, by being soft, by being nice. You take it. You demand it. You walk into the room like you own it, and you make them see you. And if they don't want to, if they still want to pretend you don't exist, then you make them regret it. Oh, but that sounds harsh, doesn't it? That sounds cruel. You've been told your whole life to be kind, to be patient, to let things happen naturally. But where has that gotten you? What has all that goodness, all that waiting ever done for you? Did it stop them from stepping over you? Did it earn you their respect? Number. It made you easy. It made you disposable. And the moment you stopped being useful to them, they didn't hesitate to toss you aside. So tell me, why are you still holding on to their approval? Why do you still care what they think? Why do you still flinch at the idea of being the villain in their story when they were never the heroes in yours? You keep telling yourself you don't want to be like them, that you don't want to stoop to their level, don't want to become cold, ruthless, unforgiving. But listen closely, this isn't about becoming them. It's about becoming more, becoming something stronger, something sharper, something they can't break, can't ignore, can't step over anymore. And that starts now. That starts with you making a choice. Do you keep waiting, keep hoping, keep suffering in silence? Or do you step forward, bare your teeth, and show them exactly what happens when they underestimate you? Because the truth is, they never feared you before, but they will now. It's strange, isn't it? The way they act surprised when you finally stop playing along. When you stop nodding, stop accepting, stop being the quiet little piece they could move around as they pleased. They don't know what to do with you now. They don't know how to handle the version of you that no longer asks, no longer waits, no longer bends. And that fear, that hesitation in their eyes, sits almost funny. Because they built this, they made you. Every time they dismissed you, every time they overlooked you, every time they made you feel small, they were shaping something dangerous. They were pouring steel into your spine, carving out every last shred of weakness, until all that remained was something they never wanted to face. But here you are, and they don't get to look away now. You see, they expect people like you to fold. They count on it. They count on you giving up, count on you backing down, count on you thinking you're not strong enough to push back. That's how they win. Not by being better, not by being smarter, but by convincing you that you were never meant to stand on your own. But you've seen through it now, haven't you? You've seen the cracks in their confidence, the way they lean on each other for power, the way they only feel strong when someone else is kneeling in front of them. They're not untouchable. They never were. And the moment you realize that, the moment you stop seeing them as something greater, something above you, that's when they start to break. Because here's the thing, they don't know how to handle someone who refuses to be controlled. They don't know what to do with someone who doesn't flinch, doesn't hesitate, doesn't wait for permission. That kind of strength, that kind of defiance, it unsettles them. It forces them to see themselves for what they really are, cowards, wrapped in power, desperate to hold on to a game they never expected you to stop playing. So let them panic, let them whisper, let them scramble to figure out where they went wrong, how they lost their grip, why you won't just go back to being what they needed you to be. Let them talk. Because while they're busy doing that, you'll be walking forward, past them, through them, over them, if you have to. And when they finally look up, when they finally see what you've become, they won't just regret underestimating you, they'll fear ever trying to do it again. They're watching you now, aren't they? Trying to figure out what changed, trying to understand how the person they used to overlook, the person they used to walk past without a second thought, suddenly feels like a threat. They're uneasy, restless, because they can't place it yet, can't name it, but they can feel it, that shift in the air, that weight in the room when you step in. And that's how it begins. That's how power works. It's not about screaming the loudest. It's not about demanding they see you. It's about making them feel your presence before you even speak. Making them hesitate. Making them second guess themselves in a way they never did before. That's where you are now. At the edge of something irreversible. A place where you either stepped forward or slipped back into the shadows. Where you either embrace what you've become or let yourself be swallowed whole by everything you used to be. But I think we both know there's no going back, don't we? Because now that you've tasted it, that shift, that spark, that sharp, unshakable certainty in your bones, you can't unfeel it. You can't pretend you don't know what it's like to walk into a room and own it without having to say a word. You can't go back to apologizing for taking up space, to waiting for scraps, to asking for a place at a table that was never built for you. Number, that's done. Now, you make your own table. Now, you carve your own place. Now, you don't wait for doors to open, you break through the walls. And they'll call you a lot of things for that. Arrogant, cold, ruthless, They'll say you've changed, that you've become something cruel, something dangerous. And maybe they're right. But tell me, where was their kindness when you needed it? Where was their concern when you were the one breaking, when you were the one being used, being discarded, being left behind? That's what they never understand. They act like strength is something ugly, like power is something to be ashamed of. But that's just because they're afraid of what happens when someone like you finally wakes up. So let them talk, let them whisper, let them tell themselves whatever makes them feel safe. It won't change a damn thing, because you're not here to make them comfortable. You're here to take back everything they never wanted you to have. They don't like it, do they? The way you carry yourself now, the way you look them in the eye without flinching, the way you walk through the world like it belongs to you. They hate it. It makes their skin crawl, because they remember who you used to be. They remember the version of you that second-guessed, that hesitated, that kept your head down and your voice small. That's the version they liked. That's the version they could control. But that version of you, it doesn't exist anymore. And now they're afraid. Oh, they won't say it out loud. No. They'll hide it behind fake smiles, behind passive-aggressive little jabs, behind backhanded compliments designed to make you doubt yourself. Because that's their last defense, isn't it? If they can't keep you small, maybe, just maybe, they can convince you to shrink yourself back down. But they don't understand. You're past that now. You don't need their approval anymore. You don't need their permission. You don't need to be liked. That's the difference between who you were and who you are now. Before, you wanted to be accepted. Now, you just want to be undeniable. And you are. They can feel it every time they speak to you, that shift in power, that tension in the air that wasn't there before. They're not sure if they should challenge you or step aside. And that is where you want them. That hesitation, that doubt. That moment where they realize, without even knowing why, that the game has changed. That's how you win. Not by begging, not by waiting, not by playing nice and hoping they'll finally let you in. No, you win by making it impossible for them to ignore you. By becoming something they have to acknowledge, whether they want to or not. And the best part, there's nothing they can do about it. Because you built this. You forged this strength in fire. You dragged yourself up from the bottom with nothing but your own two hands, while they coasted on comfort and entitlement, thinking they would always stay ahead. But they were wrong. And now they don't know what to do with you. Let them struggle with it. Let them lose sleep over it. It's not your job to make them feel safe. It's not your job to soften yourself so they can stay comfortable. You gave them that version of you once, and look where it got you. Never again. Now you take up space. Now you make noise. Now you walk through the world like you own it. Because in the end, the only difference between them and you is that you finally realized you were never meant to be beneath them. They keep watching you, waiting for the moment you slip, waiting for proof that this new version of you is just an act. that you'll crack, that you'll fold, that you'll wake up one day and go right back to being what they remember, what they were comfortable with. But that moment isn't coming, because this isn't an act. This isn't some mask you put on for show. This is who you've always been. The only difference now is that you've stopped hiding it, and that terrifies them. See, they liked it better when you were predictable, when they knew exactly how far they could push you before you'd break, when they could count on your silence, your patience, your need to be accepted. But they don't have that power anymore. Now they're the ones unsure. Now they're the ones treading carefully. Now they're the ones second-guessing every word, every move, because they don't know what will happen if they push too far. That's the power they never wanted you to have, not just strength control. And that's what you have now. Control over yourself, over your choices, over how much of you they get access to. Because that's the thing, isn't it? You used to give yourself away so freely. You used to hand out your time, your kindness, your energy like it was endless, like it didn't cost you anything. You let people take and take and take because deep down you thought that's what you had to do to be valued, to be wanted, but not anymore. Now, they only get what you choose to give. Now, you decide who gets close and who stays at arm's length. Now, you don't waste your time explaining yourself to people who were never listening in the first place. And that is the greatest shift of all. Because they don't just fear your strength, they fear your absence. They fear the moment you stop engaging, stop reacting, stop giving them the privilege of your presence. Because once that happens, once you're truly gone, they know there's no getting you back. And maybe that's the cruelest part for them. Because once they had all the power. And now you do. So here you are, standing where they never wanted you to stand, seeing yourself in a way they prayed you never would. You understand now, don't you? That you were never lacking, never weak, never unworthy. You were simply caged, trapped inside a version of yourself that was easier for them to control. But you broke free. You tore through the lies, the expectations, the limits they tried to place on you. And now you are something they cannot touch. There is no going back. You don't fit into their world anymore. You don't shrink yourself to make them comfortable. You don't beg for respect. You demand it, you take it, you embody it. And if they can't handle that, if they call you difficult, arrogant, ruthless, let them. Their words mean nothing now. They have no power here. Because you've seen the truth. You've felt what it means to be untouchable. To move through the world with certainty. To take up space without apology. To let them talk, whisper, fear while you keep walking forward. So keep walking, keep rising, keep making them regret ever thinking they could break you. Because they didn't. They never even came close.